Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you've not done so already, please like, share, and subscribe. So today we're going to talk about a very uncomfortable but necessary topic. Yes, we are going to go there. Today we're going to tackle how do you break the cycle of failed relationships. And I know it's not going to be easy to have this conversation, but it's so necessary. So what do I mean by failed relationships? Failed relationship cycle is when you get into relationships one after the other, and for whatever reason, they just don't seem to be working out, and you can't figure out why. And you are basically confused as to what is going wrong in all of these relationships. And I'm not talking about one, two, think like a whole cycle, right? Three or more bad relationships that you can't figure out what the heck went wrong. That is what we're going to talk about in today's episode. So the first thing that I want you to do is look back at all of those relationships and figure out, why did they not work out? That's step one. So what caused those relationships to fail? And also, while you're revisiting the past, yes, we have to go there, also think about what were some of the similarities in those relationships. So the similarities can be, how long did those relationships last? What types of people did you date? What were some of the problems in those relationships? How did you handle those problems into the relationship? So look at all of those things as to what were some of the similarities between all of those different failed relationships. Okay, you did that? Awesome. So the next thing I want you to do is look at the part that you played in that relationship, in all of those relationships, and see if there's any similarities there. And the reason why I want you to do this is sometimes it's hard for us to admit that we played a part in the failure of a relationship. And it's not only so much the failure of a relationship, but sometimes we go after relationships that we know are not going to be successful unconsciously, because maybe we're not ready for a serious commitment, or maybe we don't want to be with somebody. But for whatever reason, maybe it's society, maybe it's our parents, maybe it's just the culture, that we feel that we need to be in a relationship. So that's one reason why I want you to just take a good look at yourself as to what part did I play. Other times it could be some of our personalities. Look, as much as I would love to say we're all perfect, the reality is that we're not. We're human, right? So there's certain personality flaws, and maybe flaws isn't the right word, right? So maybe there's certain personality characteristics or traits that don't really mesh well with other people. And sometimes we need to be mindful of the role that we're playing in certain circumstances. So if you end up fighting a lot in relationships, that's something that you need to woe up to. If you are constantly late in relationships or going to dinners or for plans, and that's been a consistent problem in one relationship after another, then that's something that you need to be mindful of. And on the other hand, maybe you're too giving in relationships. Maybe you do too much for people. That, believe it or not, is also an issue, because maybe you're entering relationships that are not 50-50. And maybe in the beginning you're okay with it, but maybe down the line that is a problem for you. So that's something to be mindful of. And believe me, this isn't an easy exercise. It's very, very painful, and it's very, very hard to be brutally honest with yourself. I know it's so much easier just to blame all of our exes and just call them crazy and move on with our life. But then what happens? Then you get into another relationship that also fails. And you come back to this YouTube video and we do this again. So be brutally honest with yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly. And not only look at the things that you did that weren't right, but also look at the good stuff that you put out. Like, what are some of the assets that you bring to the relationship? What's important to you in a relationship? And really just self-evaluate. What are you looking for? And then the last thing that I want you to do is really look at who are the people that you've dated. I guarantee you, as scary as it may sound, there will be similarities in the people that you've dated. Either they've looked similar, maybe they have similar personalities, maybe the way the relationship ended and the way they handle things were similar. There is definitely a pattern, because all three of these components together is what makes up a failed relationship cycle, because that's something that keeps us stuck in a pattern. And like I said, the reason why we get stuck in a pattern is because we mimic, either it can be the first relationship we've ever had, or it can be a relationship that we've seen growing up. And then that becomes the foundation of what we think a relationship needs to be. And everything that comes after, unless we take a step back and we readjust, reevaluate, and start to make different choices, it's the same thing that happens over and over and over again. So that's why I want you to take a good look at all of the people that you've dated. Look at what were their characteristics like? What were things about their personalities that worked with you? What were the things that didn't work with you? What did you like about those people? And once you've gathered all of this information, I want you to just process everything, because it's almost like different pieces of a puzzle that fit together. So once you've evaluated why your relationships end, then you know what you need to do differently in those situations. And I'll give you an example. If you know that at 6-month mark, your relationships are ending, then think about what happens at the 6-month mark, right? We get out of the honeymoon phase. So are there fights that are taking place? Are you really getting to know those people at that 6-month point? Is that why the relationship is ending? Conversely, what about if your relationship is ending at a 1.5 to 2-year mark? Is it because now it's time to take things to the next level and maybe you're not ready? Or maybe the people that you're picking, maybe they're not ready. That's another good indicator as to why are these relationships ending. And then look back at the part that you're playing. How are you handling all of those situations? Are you the one instigating the breakup? Or is the other person instigating the breakup? Are you happy about the breakup? And it doesn't matter who breaks up with who, right? Because in every relationship, there are certain things that both people can improve upon. No relationship is ever perfect, guys. I mean, if that's what you're going for, you're going to be sorely disappointed. You have to compromise in every relationship. But with that said, it doesn't mean that the compromise needs to be where you're bending over backwards, right? So you can't be in a relationship where you're giving too much, or where you're doing nothing at all. That's also a problem. So look back at the role that you've played in all of these relationships. Is it always that you are playing the same role? For example, are you always the giver in all of these relationships? Because if you are, then maybe that's the reason why you maybe are holding in resentment. Maybe you don't want the relationship to go to the next level. Conversely, are you not doing your part in a relationship? Maybe that's why people are leaving you, because they've complained. And that's why it's so important to look at it as a pattern, because I guarantee you, if you reflect on all of your past relationships, there's a consistent theme there. There's a consistent theme as to why things are ending. There's a consistent theme about what these people are saying about you. And there's going to be a consistent theme of the type of people that you're dating. And what we need to get to in this episode is break all of those things. And the only way to make change going forward is by understanding what needs to be changed. So when you reflect on all of these things, then you get a clear understanding of what it is that you need to change. So once you've kind of done that, then I want you to take out a piece of paper and write down what your ideal relationship would be. How would you ideally behave in a relationship? Who's the ideal person that you would date? What would that relationship be like? How would they treat you? How long would that relationship last? Where would that relationship go? And just gather your thoughts and your feelings. Just write them down on a piece of paper and look at all of those things. And the next time when you're out there dating, take out that piece of paper and do a little checkbox. Does this person match the things that I'm looking for? Am I behaving in this dating situation the way that I want to behave? Is this relationship or this potential relationship match what I'm looking for? And when you have that blueprint of what you want in life and what you don't want from your past, it's the only way that you can break the mold. Otherwise, you will find yourself basically in a roller coaster going round and round and round. So with that, guys, if you want to know more about this topic, look at the description box for my podcast. I'm going to link this episode over there, and feel free to also subscribe to my podcast channel where we talk about more topics like this and about life, right? Because it's not always about love and relationships, although that is definitely the juicier part of life. So until next time, thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel. Bye.